Hi there, I'm CJ Ferry. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm here with my host,
Bob Camara, known as Chipper.
And we're here to bring you the news that nobody wants to bring you in Fall River, and we're here to bring it to you with the truth. And we want to make sure that you know what's going on without all the fluff, without all the lies, and without any of the baloney that we always hear and we don't like. And we want to be sure that you know what's going on here in Fall River. We're kind of known as Lyme disease and Rocky Mountain spotted fever here because we got so many ticks in this city that they bleed us dry.
So true, so true.
So Chipper, what do you want to talk about today? I mean, we got to bring something good out to these people.
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is say that we're nonpartisan. This is not any political agenda here. This is about the truth and about straight talk. And CJ and I have been known to go in front of the council and give them a little bit of hell. And now we're going to give the people out there the opportunity to hear the truth unvarnished. So I think one of the big items we're looking at today is the water department.
Oh yes, our lovely friend Terry Sullivan in the water department. Just what we need, more of legislation by ambush, as I called it in front of the city council. And Terry Sullivan got his base water meter fee increase. He doubled it, and and you look at who did this. I mean, Linda Pereira turned around and turned her vote around. Mike Mioza turned his vote around. This is what you people have voted for. These are the people that changed their vote, and you were lied to. We've been lied to about this over and over again. And the story behind this fee has changed consistently. First it was, without this fee, we can't build a water tower. Then it was, without this fee, we can't make ends meet. Then without this fee, we're going to get fined. Then without this fee, we're going to have to lay off people. What's the truth? Where is the truth? Do you know the truth, Chipper?
Well, I think the truth, I think we have to begin at the beginning. It wasn't 2 months ago we had a budget. The water department submitted a budget to the city. That budget was supposed to be for the costs that were going to be incurred during this fiscal year. And less than 2 months later, we need more money. And the fee is kind of a really difficult topic for the taxpayer to deal with, because when you buy your home, you actually pay for the sewer fee, for the meter. And now you charge the fee. We don't pay for the meters on gas pumps. We don't pay for the scales in the markets. And I went before the council and basically said, why are we paying this fee in the first place? And secondly, why is it coming after the budgetary process? If this capital outlay project was in the budget, why wasn't it heard during the hearings of the city council? And why was it just passed over? And this is one of the problems that we face in Fall River. We seem to have government by crisis.
And when this was being presented, Sean Kadim, the city administrator, said, we presented this in the budget process. Yeah, they presented it by going, click, next. It was glossed over. It was just quickly passed over so that nobody really questioned it. And Linda Pereira said in an interview on WSAR that, this was her fault. She should have asked the right questions. It's not the point of you should have to ask the right questions. The answers should already be there. When you're looking at this budget, it shouldn't be hidden, and you shouldn't have to come back afterwards asking for more money. And the worst part about this was in a water board meeting in August, I believe, Terry Sullivan came in front of the water board and said that he would be increasing the water fee again, probably in 2014.
Yes, that's true. And the other factor is that Linda Pereira said she should be asking the right questions. My position is that you shouldn't have to ask these questions. When department heads go before the city council, they have an obligation to be truthful and give the city an accurate picture of what our liabilities are for the fiscal year. And that has never been done. And it seems this entire budget, which we could actually spend maybe we could actually do a mini-series on the budget.
Oh, yeah,
we don't.
definitely.
It'll take more than one program, and how many other issues have been handled the same way. So we get back to who's really at fault. Is it the department head? Is it the mayor? Is it the city council? They may all be culpable.
And you know, getting back to this meter fee, in all fairness to Terry Sullivan and the water department, many communities throughout the country and in the Commonwealth do charge a meter fee. It's not called a meter fee though. And what Terry Sullivan did say at the city council meeting is that this is to pay the administrative costs of the billing for the water department. So it costs them about $1 million a year to do the billing for the water department, which to me seemed a little excessive. But many communities throughout the country do charge a fee to the end user or the consumer for the meters. They charge a monthly fee or a maintenance fee for those meters. But you know that. The people of Fall River don't know that because nowhere on your water bill, and if you pull out your water bills right now and you look on it, nowhere do you see, you know, base meter fee or meter fee. And that was the big question. And that also came up in the city council meeting. And Terry Sullivan said he'll make sure that it appears on the bill. Doesn't mean it will. He says it will, so we're going to have to take him at his word. But I've learned about taking people at their word in city government.
Well, that's true. But we get back to what I said before the council when I appeared there. To me, number one, I have issues with fees because fees are taxes. And cities circumvent 2.5 because they can only raise taxes a specific amount by imposing fees on the people, and then they try to say that these aren't taxes. The other thing is, billing is part of doing business, and that should have been in the regular budget hearings. We shouldn't come in after the budget has been said and said, wait a minute, we need money to bill people. Well, last time I checked, most businesses factor that into their operating costs. And this is one of the problems we have with Fall River. There's always a crisis, there's always a reason, there's always an excuse to take more money out of the pockets of the taxpayers.
And, you know, and that seems to happen, as you said, all the time. I mean, we look at this, whether it be in our roads, whether it be in our water department, our sewer department, our parks departments, the school department, everything is always by crisis. We don't do anything with forethought and planning. And even at the city council meeting for this base meter fee, which was, again, we heard multiple excuses for it, including the new water tower up at the airport, but they brought in a piece of water pipe from the 1800s that is in the city streets. So what does this base meter fee have to do with this water pipe now? Why do we have to keep bringing in all of this old stuff that we aren't doing?
Well, they like to confuse the issue. They like to get everybody confused. They start throwing out a whole bunch of reasons for things, and the reality is, that was voted down by the city council. Then we had city councilors change their vote. They said it was in the best interest of the taxpayers because a fee increase was better than a water rate increase when they were made aware by both CJ and I at the council meeting that Terry Sullivan had said at a water board meeting in July that the rates are going up next year. So in essence, what they did was they imposed another financial burden on the taxpayers of the city with the full knowledge that next year the rates are going to go up anyway. So to me, that's being a little disingenuous.
Yeah, and it's very deceptive to the voter and very deceptive to the property owner in the city, because I'm changing my vote because this base meter fee is cheaper than raising your water fee, but we're going to change your water fee anyhow. And Terry Sullivan could only say, well, I don't have the figures in front of me, but I'm thinking maybe 10 cents a CCF. Well, right now it's 10 cents a CCF, but what's not to say that it won't be 20 cents a CCF or 25 or more come next June? I mean, we don't know.
Well, we have another issue too. We can segue into the fact that we have a hazardous dump at the water treatment plant.
Yes, we do.
So I'm sure that next year, when we're dealing with the water rate increase, the cost of that cleanup, which is now approximated at $1 million, which I think will be far greater than that when they find out the toxicity of what was dumped there. These are the kind of things that we deal with. Again, and here's another thing, that debris has been there since the 1980s. As a matter of fact, in the 1980s, the city of Fall River was offered $75,000 to remove that. We had a contractor who sold cobblestone and materials who offered to pay the city to remove that. And as usual, the city did absolutely nothing. And now, in 2013, we have a complaint from the DPA, and we have a sign on our water treatment plant that says this is a hazardous material site. And the taxpayers, again, are going to be hit and burdened with paying the bills.
You know, it's really interesting. This goes back to 1984. The city started digging up the streets, and they were bringing cobblestones up along Pleasant Street. And I mean, we can remember when they were digging up those streets and there was cobblestones. And there's still streets in Fall River which still have cobblestones under the asphalt. And what they were doing was they were taking it down Bedford Street to Stonehaven Road and down by the water plant, and they were dumping it down a small ledge. It's about 95 feet down to the water line. And I actually have the pictures of this. They were provided to me by an anonymous source. And they were dumping not only cobblestones down there, they were dumping auto parts, motor oil, antifreeze, electrical transformers, those big electrical transformers on the telephone poles that carry the electricity. Those are filled with an oil which carry PCBs. Well, those have been broken open so people could get the copper out of it, which is valuable. And the oil was allowed to leak into the ground. So that became a hazardous waste site, less than 200 feet from the city's drinking water. Isn't that amazing?
Well, it's amazing when you think about it, but it's not really amazing when you look at the way Fall River handles most of its issues. And that is one of the fundamental problems we have in this city. It seems that nobody ever takes the responsibility to do anything positive. They delay it. And what bothers me about this site, not only was the dumping continued from the 1980s, and illegal dumping at our city site with no oversight, but they attempted to cover it up. They actually covered it with loam and tried to paint and tried to plant grass.
Yep.
And that is unconscionable to me, that the government of this city would attempt to cover a hazardous material dump.
That's conspiracy. That's conspiracy. And conspiracy is a felony. So who's going to be accountable for it? Terry Sullivan has been in control of that department for many years. So, I mean, is this the man who's accountable for it? He's in control of it now. But yes, they did. They covered it over with loam. They covered it with grass seed. And DEP has been investigating it. As a matter of fact, at the city council meeting after Terry Sullivan got his fee increases, he came before the council saying that he needed $1 million because DEP was going to come out with an enforcement order, which was supposed to be issued on the 23rd. It has yet to be issued, or at least publicized that it had been issued. I had spoken to two people up at DEP, and they had told me that the order was going to be issued on the 23rd. It wasn't easy to get that information out of them. But again, this is an enforcement order. There has been some findings. And it scares me to think that a department head, a city administration, like we have, a city council, because I do know for a fact that 2 city councilors knew of this going on. They knew of it for some time. They had been approached by several people with this information, and they also failed to act on it. These are people that we elect to look out for our best interests. But again, our best interests are not being served. So what's happening to us?
Well, I think that's a question that we all have to ask as taxpayers and as citizens of this city, because they are well aware that this city has one of the lowest per capita incomes in the nation for a city of its size. The average household income in Fall River is $24,000. I use the comparison of Newton, which is about the same size as Fall River. The average household income is $109,000 a year, and the state average is $66,000 a year. So if we take the state average, the people in this city have approximately 1/3 the income that the rest of the state does. But our city council continues to tax, increase fees with a total disregard, and what we're paying for is things that should have never happened, such as this. And this is what really bothers me, and that's why we need to talk straight about things like this.
Yeah, and as you brought up, the city was offered $75,000 for those cobblestones. They can't be taken now, and they can't be taken because they're contaminated.
That's true.
And back in the 1980s, and I believe it was 1984 again, $75,000 wasn't chump change. I mean, granted, it wasn't $1 million, but in 1984, $75,000 wasn't chump change. So, I mean, that could have gone a long way to some programs here in the city.
And you're right, CJ. CJ, $75,000 was a lot of money. And in this city right now, it's still a lot of money to most people. Maybe not to our city council, maybe not to our mayor, but to the average person in Fall River, it's still a lot of money. But the other question is, and I think the salient question is, that we had cobblestone dumped there. That was the beginning of this story. But who allowed auto parts and all the contaminants to be dumped there? And I can tell you, this price tag at $1 million is probably an underestimation. In my former position as a district fire chief in this city, I went to many hazmat incidents, and I can tell you the cost of cleanup by these companies like Clean Harbors is astronomical. And they also have to do test borings all over the area. And if they find further contaminants that have leached into the water table, that bill is going to be mind-boggling.
Right. And this is what your administration, this is what your mayor, your city council, your department heads, this is what you're paying for. This is who you're voting in. And we're not saying this, we're saying that you need to hold these people responsible. That's why this is straight talk. This is why it's coming to you the way it is. We're not asking you to vote for anyone in particular. We're asking you to go out and say to your elected representatives, why is this happening? Why is my money being spent so, flimsily? Why is it just being spent like you have a credit card that you can just spend it on whatever you want? We don't do this in our homes. How can you do this in our city? We have to have some accountability. We need it today. And that's what Straight Talk is all about. We have a phone number, we have an email address, and we want you to talk to us. We want you, the viewer, to call us. Give us suggestions. If you don't like our show, call us. Leave a message. Nobody's going to answer that phone. Just give us a phone call. Leave us a message. Tell us you hate us. If you love us, tell us you love us. If you got a suggestion, leave a suggestion. We want to know about it, okay? Send us an email. We're Spindle City Straight Talk @gmail.com. Give us a phone call, 774-955-0102. Either one of us will get that message. Maybe you'll hear your message on the air. We may play it back, so you'll hear your message on the air. We want to know. If you got a topic, if you know something's going on that shouldn't be going on, we want to hear about it too. This is your program. This isn't our program. This is your program. This is for us to bring you the news that nobody else wants to bring you and everyone wants to hide. This is just the first of many shows that we're going to be bringing to you because we have many issues, and this just tops the cake.
That's true. What we want to do is to have you be informed with what's really going on, and we want you to go out there and do what we do, ask why. We're in an election cycle. When these candidates walk up to you and ask you for their vote, ask them why they voted for a budget that they said was only going up 1% when they were fully aware that they had rebonded to push the money down, kick the can down the road, when they knew that there were positions eliminated, when they knew that that budget had gone up far more than 1%, and we also had all these tax increases and fee increases that were waiting for after the budgetary cycle, and ask them why they are spending our money with a lack of priority. Why did we have reductions in public safety while we had increases in pay raises and patronage jobs? Ask why. They have to earn your vote. You have to understand that in order for us to have better government in Fall River, we have to hold these people accountable, and we're going to help. And as CJ said, you can dislike what we say, and that's your prerogative, but we'll engage in a debate on it. But from us, you'll always get the straight talk.
You know, the truth isn't always what people want to hear. That's always the problem. That's the one thing we always find in Fall River. You know, people don't always want to hear what we have to say. You know, for many years, people have come right out and said, you know, you're a liar. You're not telling us the truth. And then, truth be known, comes down the road 6 months, a year later, everything that I said was the truth because I back everything up. I do a lot of investigation before I bring the facts to you. And I make sure of that because I want to be sure that the stuff that I'm presenting is factual, that it's on the record, and then it becomes on the record. You know, many city councilors don't like me. As a matter of fact, just this week, you remember, just this past week, I received a phone call from an elected representative who was extremely upset with me because I got a legal opinion on something that they were doing. And, you know, who am I to do that? Well, I'm a citizen and you work for me. And that's the way it is. You work for me. And that's the attitude that I want every one of you viewers to have. You work for me. When you speak to your elected representatives, you work for me. We always hear it. You know, Fall River is wonderful. We're going to keep Fall River on the scope. Fall River is going to get this, that, and the other thing. But it's a lot of, you know, political campaign promises that never seem to happen. Let's stop the political BS and let's get right down to brass tacks. This is what we need. This is what we can afford. Let's spend our money properly and let's make sure it happens because we can't do it anymore.
You're right, CJ. We can't live on promises. We've been getting promises for years. And in the last 4 years, what we've gotten is a lot of political positions. We've gotten a lot of pay raises, and we've gotten our services cut, our taxes increased. And we really can't go on like this. We can't go on with politicians running on, we're going to have a ferry boat after the election, when they know full well that the Route 77 spaghetti ramps are not going to be ready till at least 2016. So how are we going to run a ferry boat from the waterfront when it's going to be virtually inaccessible until 2017? These are the kind of political promises we've been hearing for years. We don't need promises. What we need to do is run this government like we have to run our homes. We can't spend money we don't have because every time they push a bond down the road, we're paying for it and our grandchildren are paying for it. Every time they take another credit card, we're paying it. Every time they give out a pay raise and cut firefighters, we're paying for it. Every time they cut our services while they spend our money, we have to ask why. And if we don't, it'll continue. And Fall River cannot live in a dream world anymore.
No, we can't. And, you know, it's wonderful to hear that Fall River is wonderful and Fall River is great, but, you know, how many restaurants can we open and say Fall River is doing wonderful? How many parks can we say are great before we say, okay, we have restaurants, we have parks, now where are the jobs? Where's the economy? You know, we don't have those things. You know, I just heard that the train's coming. We've been hearing this for 30 years, and now we're going to see it in 3 years. You know, and when it comes, it's going to bring 4,000 jobs. Where are these jobs coming from? You know, 4,000 jobs. Again, You know, the numbers from the mystical database of God knows where. And again, it's kind of like the mystical numbers of the water department. You know, where did those numbers come from? We don't know. People need to understand. We need to focus on what's happening, how it's happening, and when it's happening. And again, you know, we brought to you one major issue today, that being the water fees, and we'll be bringing other major issues to you. But go back to your city councilors and ask them, why did you vote for the fee increase? There were only 3 city councilors who said no to it. That was Dan Rigo, Ray Mitchell, and Joe Camara. Those were the only 3 who had a set on them that said no. Okay? All the rest fell into line. Some of them we expect. And they say it was for the benefit of Fall River. Well, I don't see that. I don't see that. And we need to start asking questions, serious questions. And that's the problem. The other problem is that the people of Fall River don't go out and vote. And they don't. And that's why the city council, the mayor, the school committee, they don't care, because they know they're going to get back in, because the same people come out and vote all the time, and they don't got to worry about it. You know, let's shake them up a little bit. Let's get out there and vote and scare them.
Yeah, and do more than that. Tell them that we need to change our priorities and our focus. City government, their main priority is to provide essential services. Public safety, education, deep sanitation. First, we have to bring these departments up to full complement. We have to pay for those departments. We can't continue to give out patronage jobs and have a city that's debt is astronomical. The city administrator said in Boston at a meeting I was at that this city is $500 million in debt. That's $500 million with bonds and other debt. Yet, they created positions, gave pay raises out. And I'm going to say something that's going to upset some people, because, and I really don't care.
You, Bob,
and I never have.
But
the fact is, we can't fix Fall River with swing sets. That's a political ploy. It makes people happy, and believe me, in a perfect world, we'd have enough money to make every park beautiful. We'd have enough money to make every street perfect. But this isn't a perfect world. We need to prioritize, and the first priority are essential services. The mayor likes to cut ribbons and build parks. He spent $1.2 million on park rehab, but we cut 14 firefighters. This is not the way to run a city in the best interest of its people. CJ?
And remember, we bonded $850,000 for parks. And we gave away $329,000 that we could have got from the state, because the mayor was in a hurry to get the bond. If he had waited a couple of days, we could have gotten the $329,000 grant, and we would not have had to bond $850,000. But the state said, you don't need the $329,000 grant because you bonded for all of that. So again, there's some more financial irresponsibility. These are things that we will be addressing further in the future. And with that, I want to thank you for joining us today. Please continue to watch us. And again, send us your emails and your phone calls. Thank you for joining us here on Spindle City Straight Talk. Have a great day.
Call us.